Superhero games. You know them, you love them. With games such as the Batman Arkham Trilogy, Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, and Marvel's Avengers, well, everyone knows how I feel about that game. It's hard to not love superhero games. We even have upcoming superhero games such as DC's Superhero Girls Team Powers, Gotham Knights, and Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. But we wouldn't be getting these great games without having a few missteps. In the prior generations to this one, it was fairly common for movies to get tie-in video games. To give you a few examples, there were tie-in video games for Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, both Fantastic Four movies, Peter Jackson's King Kong, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and more. However, out of all of the potential tie-in video games that we could dive into, Aquaman Battle for Atlantis might be one of the worst ones. Before I dive into this awful experience of a game, don't forget to like the video and subscribe, it helps the channel out. Developed by Lucky Chicken Games and published by TDK Media Active for both the GameCube and Xbox, Aquaman Battle for Atlantis was supposed to be the first installment of a long-term Aquaman video game series. Originally, TDK Media Active and DC Comics came to an agreement that there would be multiple games based on Aquaman and his adventures within Atlantis. In fact, here's a statement from the Chief Executive Officer of TDK Media Active when this deal was announced. "This legendary hero from DC Comics presents an exceptional opportunity for us," said Vincent Pattetti, Chief Executive Officer of TDK Media Active. Aquaman's epic adventures are an ideal subject to showcase the exciting graphics capabilities of next-generation platforms. We are delighted to bring the King of Atlantis to life in a whole new way for his loyal fanbase. Well, it's safe to say that Aquaman Battle for Atlantis is not the end result that one would want after having such an exceptional opportunity presented to them. Firstly, this game was reviewed so poorly that it has an awful 27 Metascore on Metacritic. Secondly, it sold so poorly that its originally planned PlayStation 2 and Game Boy Advance ports were canned because barely anyone bought the game. And thirdly, this game is just straight up awful. Don't believe me? Let's dive right into Aquaman Battle for Atlantis. There truly isn't a good thing that it can say about Aquaman Battle for Atlantis, which is honestly hilarious when you think about it. Sure, the cutscenes are meant to look like you're reading straight out of a comic book, but its okay background music and non-existent voice acting makes it hard to remember any of the cutscenes. One of the few things that I remember from any of the cutscenes in Aquaman Battle for Atlantis is that Garth shows up for a handful of cutscenes with Aquaman. None of these cutscenes are interesting at all, and I say that as someone who tried to make them entertaining by reading them out loud in funny voices to make my own playthrough of Aquaman Battle for Atlantis less insufferable. Yeah, it didn't work, nor did it help by any means whatsoever. Then there's the gameplay of Aquaman Battle for Atlantis. It's awful. I don't even know how to truly verbalize the awfulness of the gameplay. In the first mission, Disrupted Development, they literally just throw you into the game. There's no tutorial to tell you how to play the game before you start the first mission. Unless you're psychic and think to yourself, man, maybe I should press start and go through the menus to figure out how to play the game, since the game might not put me through tutorials so that I know how to play the game. You literally have to press buttons and figure out how to control Aquaman, which isn't necessarily complicated when you finally manage to figure that out. That being said, the gameplay is so mind-numbingly boring that playing the game is a chore. You might be wondering, Justin, how is that possible? How can a game be that bad? Well, let me give you the answer you've been waiting for. Aquaman Battle for Atlantis' gameplay is literally swimming towards a group of Black Manta's henchmen who are typically grouped together at different parts of Atlantis, and then you fight those henchmen. That sounds simple, right? Almost like it'd be impossible to somehow mess up what sounds like a decent idea, right? If you think that, you couldn't be more wrong. There's literally only one way to truly play this game: button mashing. And when I say button mashing, I'm not even talking about the type of button mashing where it's fun or entertaining, such as when you're playing Smash with your friends or you're trying out a fighting game for the first time. In this game, you're just trying to get as many punches or kicks in before the Black Manta henchmen hit you with an obnoxious combo that you wish you had, or before they grab you, which results into you being stunned for several seconds. The hilarious yet frustrating thing about starting fights in this game is that when you start a fight, literally everything slows down. For no reason at all. You go from Aquaman knowing how to turbo swim through the waters of the ocean to moving the slowest he can possibly move. Aquaman's movement speed goes from like 100% to 20% as soon as a fight begins for no reason at all. Even the enemies, who don't move at all because they stay stationary at different locations, move faster than Aquaman because they at least move in a circle while you're fighting one of the other henchmen. It's like if someone decided to take it upon themselves to make a Flash video game, and then only allow Flash to use his super speed during non-combat portions of the game. Imagine how frustrating that would be. On the other hand, one hilarious thing about fighting these henchmen is that if you tap on your D-pad to switch the enemy you want to focus, the previously locked on enemy swims away. Literally, mid-fight, you can switch the enemy that you're locked onto and the previously locked on enemy is like, nah man, I respect that decision. I'll let you fight it out with someone else. Don't worry, I can wait. This brings me to the awful missions in Aquaman Battle for Atlantis. Whether it's intentional or not, this game's missions are the same thing over and over and over again. Go swim to this location, beat up these enemies for the mission, and then swim to this location and beat up the next group of enemies again. The only problem is there's either minor changes to the mission, like beat up this squad of enemies and then blow up these 6 generators, or go beat up this squad of enemies that's shooting at Atlantis, which suddenly has a health bar just for this mission. Normally, I'd entirely understand that this is normal for the past generation of video games because the technology back then didn't allow for video game developers to do anything close to what we have now in this current generation of video games. However, none of these missions feel any different from each other because every single one of these missions are slowed down by the awful same gameplay loop over and over again. Even in the missions that attempt to switch it up, such as Mission 5, Secrets, it still feels the exact same as any other mission. In this case, they want you to go search for a secret tunnel in this fairly open space of water. However, due to the fact that the compass in the game points you to wherever there's a group of henchmen, it just feels like you're swimming to different groups of henchmen and beating them up until you find a secret tunnel. It doesn't feel any different from the first mission where you're swimming around Atlantis and beating up henchmen until the mission is over. With that being said, there's a handful of specific missions such as Mission 3 and Mission 7 which require you to control a ship for story reasons that once again do not have a tutorial. Yes, these missions actually do switch it up, but once again, you're left to your own frustration as you attempt to figure out how to control an aqua ship because why would the game try to tell you how to use different mechanics of the game? And don't even get me started on this ship's awful hitboxes. In Mission 7, I specifically struggled time and time again to complete it because the ship had horrible hitboxes. You know what? I'm not even going to go into detail about these hitboxes. For your entertainment, here's every single time I died to horrible hitboxes during the 7th mission. Not that this is up for debate, but this game sucks, and I want to remind everyone of this. It's frustrated me, broken my sanity, and made me question whether I wasted my time creating this video for everyone's entertainment. Yes, Aquaman Battle for Atlantis is that bad of a video game. You'd think that my frustration with the game would have begun from the first mission, but shockingly, it didn't. It began with the 8th mission. Mission 8, the Manta's Lair, is absolute bullshit, it has to be said. No one can change my mind on this. It's the truth. This mission expects you, Aquaman, to go against 6 different groups of Black Manta's henchmen protecting generators. These groups can range anywhere from 3 to 7 different henchmen that you need to fight one by one as the other henchmen swing around you. That already sounds ridiculous, right? It gets worse. These other useless henchmen shoot at you while you're fighting a henchman and constantly grab you so the henchman you were already fighting can get free hits on you. You might be thinking, why not just block the grab so they can't grab you? Here's the thing, you can't block the grab at all. I've tested that multiple times just to make sure that I wasn't going insane. On top of all of that, when you get grabbed, you lose health since the henchmen grab you tightly. I went through this mission so many times attempting to clear it, and I've died so many times that I could make a montage of my deaths. After you finally clear that mission, the game is like, oh cool, you finally did that. Go kill Black Manta now. You go through a few groups of henchmen before you pull up on Black Manta and call him out for causing havoc against Atlantis. Then you finally get to fight Black Manta, and the fight was so easy that this was my reaction.
Is this your game?
After defeating Black Manta, Aquaman sent him to jail in Atlantis, only for him to end up threatening Black Manta so he could find out what's been causing these attacks against Atlantis. Black Manta tells Aquaman that he was guaranteed victory in all of the riches of Atlantis. Immediately after this stupid conversation happens, Atlantis is under attack again. You'd think that Atlantis would have the best defense in the world, considering it's Atlantis, and they live underwater. But no, Atlantis has been under attack like 3 times now in this damn game. Lava Lord sent his minions to attack Atlantis, which once again is very similar to the first mission in the game where we have to fight Black Manta's henchmen because they were attacking Atlantis. Also, it has to be said, almost every single minion that Lava Lord has looks exactly like the Thing from the Fantastic Four. Tell me I'm wrong about this. I dare you. Look at these 2 pictures side to side. Am I wrong? Anyway, the mission is boring and repetitive just like the rest of Aquaman Battle for Atlantis. But after that's done, we end up confronting Lava Lord himself. Let me tell you, this fight was absolutely ridiculous for no reason. It's not even because he has 2 minions with him in this fight. They're pretty much non-existent and are only there in case you need more health. Spoiler alert, I did multiple times in this awful game. I died to Lava Lord so many damn times just because of the fact that this man has a ridiculous amount of health. For the first time ever, I actually decided to try and learn a combo or something to make my life easier for this fight, and I only ended up learning this single move where Aquaman spins really fast. After defeating Lava Lord, we find out that he sent his people to attack Atlantis because he claims that Aquaman sent people from Atlantis to attack his people. I know, it sounds way more convoluted, but it's really not. Anyway, they get into a yelling match and Aquaman heads back to Atlantis to figure out what's causing all of these problems. It dawns on Aquaman that Black Manta and Lava Lord have something in common: the ruins. Turns out, in the ruins, there's a bunch of oceanic warriors, which, spoiler alert, clearly displays that Ocean Master is behind this Grandmaster plan of trying to take down Atlantis. Now we go through a bunch of missions that are basically fighting this group of enemies here, there, and everywhere, because apparently that's all the ocean has. Just a bunch of enemies in stationary positions, waiting for Aquaman to come beat them up. I guess the developers were scrambling to figure out how to actually make this not feel like you've been playing the same missions over and over again. So guess what? There's even more missions with the ship, except in this case, we go shoot a bunch of crawlers that look like they're straight out of an apocalypse movie. Eventually, we end up confronting Ocean Master, who has an actual staff-like weapon, unlike someone who should have one as well. Aquaman defeats him. Ocean Master tries to get away, but Aquaman summons Nessie out of all things to stop Ocean Master from escaping. Ocean Master is gone. Aquaman lives. Atlantis is saved, and this game is still terrible. I wanted to wait till the end of this video to specifically point something out. The cover of Aquaman Battle for Atlantis has Aquaman's trident on it. Guess what? You don't ever use the trident, ever. In fact, there's no mention of a trident at all. The whole appeal of Aquaman, besides jokes about him being able to speak to animals in the ocean, is that he has a cool trident as a weapon. This game literally had the audacity to have it on the cover, but not once included in this awful game story or gameplay mechanics whatsoever. I simply don't get it. And sure, I understand that game development was even harder back then, but if they knew they weren't going to include Aquaman's trident in the game, the least they could have done is change the cover of the game. I fully acknowledge that I might be nitpicking here, but this game deserves it because of how bad it is. In fact, Aquaman Battle for Atlantis is one of the worst games I've ever played, and I will forever stand by this statement. It sucks, there's nothing good about it, the gameplay is ridiculously repetitive, the combo list is way too much work to remember, and the game does nothing enjoyable. If you're even considering the idea of playing this game, please do not do so. It's not worth the effort, let alone the thought. Yes, it is that bad, and I'm warning you for the safety of your own sanity. I've suffered enough while playing this game, writing this script, and making this video so that none of you have to go through this stupid excuse of a video game. I'm over it. Aquaman Battle for Atlantis sucks. Before the video ends, I'd just like to say that if you want to see me potentially do a full series of these types of videos where I go through terrible superhero games and rant about them for your entertainment, let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you really enjoyed this video, hit that sub button. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, write a comment down below. Don't forget to keep it real with peace, love, and positivity.
My amounts, then they bang up my accounts, yeah, swear I lost count. Bounce.